meeting law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted with the Star Ledger and Express Times and submitted to the town clerk of the town of Belvidere on May 30th, 2024. The meeting will be live streamed at www.belvideresd.org. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Red? Mine's red.
We could do the executive and Shelley's.
It's red.
No changes.
It looks red.
Nope.
Ah, there we go. Now it's all good. All right. The mission of the Belvidere School District is to celebrate our past and empower our future while focusing on the four cornerstones of our district: tradition, excellence, academics, and community. We strive to build confidence and promote collaboration. We encourage an equal partnership with our students and staff as well as its community members. We empower everyone to develop the best version of themselves. The Belvidere School District is committed to shaping students into global citizens who take initiatives for their success and contribute to the continued excellence of the district. Our students are leaders in the decision-making process of their education and will be prepared to excel in the 21st century society. Roll call, please.
Here.
Mr. Bum? Dr. Zuppet?
Here.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mrs. Steffen?
Here.
Mrs. Winter? Mr. Chicarelli? Mrs. Gardella?
Here.
Mrs. Rabat?
Here. All right, that would bring us to committee reports, but we do not have any for this past month. So that'll take us to an executive session. I'll need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
We'll be going into executive session for negotiations, instructional counsel, for personnel, CSA evaluation, and pending litigation matters, and attorney-client privilege. Any discussion held by the board which not need remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of this closed session, approximately 45 minutes with everything we have going on. All in favor of going into exec?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, we will go into executive session now.
I think we should just go out. We should
Go into the other
go
room?
in.
Okay. Alrighty. Good. Okay, so we are on to our first public participation. This public participation is for agenda items only. Do we have anyone for public participation? No? Okay. Correspondence. No? No? Okay. Okay, and that's for later. Yep, okay. So then, superintendent's report.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't ready. So just a few things to talk about the end of the year and our wrapping up. First of all, I want to take a moment to compliment the Belvidere High School and the Belvidere 8th grade graduation. I did not, unfortunately, get to preschool or kindergarten because of scheduling issues, but first of all, the 8th grade graduation I thought was an outstanding affair, as it usually is. Very positive way to end the year. Loved the speeches, loved our two guest speakers. For those that don't know, Mason Scott and Matt Eichert, who are both Belvidere graduates, were guest speakers. They both did an outstanding job, as did Ms. Duckworth with her remarks. So kudos to the 8th grade advisors. High school graduation, although we got a little bit of rain on us, was still, I think, outstanding. I actually thought the rain felt good, personally, because it was extremely hot, especially under the tent. But Dr. McKinney and Mr. Bartow did a great job setting all that up, plus Mr. Kennedy and the crew, who I thank for just getting everything set up and on and on and on. Mr. Lee, I don't thank him, he gets mad at me. But overall, it's just a outstanding graduation, and I was really proud of the students and their remarks as well. And I think Ms. Chavone is one of the best guest speakers we've had in quite some time. She did an outstanding job. We also had our top 10 dinner, and this was our first year of just doing it ourselves. It is the county-wide one, seems to be coming to an end. I do want to thank Ms. Steffen. She was there to represent the board. Dr. Lamonti and Mike New from the county office were there. That really was, in the 14 years I've been associated with top 10 dinners, it was the best one that we've had. So just to finish up, I just want to say, I know the end of the year is always tough, especially when it gets warm. Thank God we are not in session this week. We would have to either cancel or go with half days because of the heat, especially up in the high school. So I'm just glad that that's not one of our issues. But thanks, everybody, for a strong ending to the school year. And the last thing to mention is we will resume committee meetings after the 4th of July holiday. That's pretty much my report.
Okay, and we do not have our student BOE representative tonight.
Well, she graduated, so I think she.
So she's done. She's
Yeah,
out of here.
We should thank Michaela, though.
She
for
gets a
serving.
she did an awesome job keeping us informed of everything, so good job to her. Can't wait to see who they send next. All right, so we are on to agenda items, reorganization. It'll be items 1 through 11. Shelley?
We are going to delete number 8 regarding working papers. Can you hear me now? We're going to remove item number 8. Working papers are now done online, and they're no longer done through the guidance office, so we can remove that item now from our reorg.
Okay, so we will be looking at agenda items 1 through 11 minus number 8. Any questions on any of them? No questions? Can I have a motion on items 1 through 11?
Motion.
Any questions? No? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Ackerman? Yes. Dr. Zeppeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
And Mrs. Robotham?
Yes.
All right, so that brings us to agenda items for personnel. It'll be
I have a comment for that also.
1 through 18 with,
We are going to change the number of hours on number 8 from 10 to 15. We are going to delete item number 17, as it is not required to be approved by the board or through a motion.
days.
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 Yeah, 10 days to 15 days. All right, so can I have a motion for personnel items 1 through 18 with the change to 8 and removal of 17?
Motion.
Any questions on any of them? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman? Dr. Zeppeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
And Mrs. Robotham?
Yes.
All right, so we are on to education items 19 through 27.
I have one more item. On number 24, we are going to remove the line for paraprofessional services completely. These were added from the child study team director, mainly for other services.
Okay, so can I have a motion for education items 19 through 27?
Motion.
Any questions on any of them? Anybody? No? All right. All in favor? Aye. Did you have a question?
I just wanted to add, I think, that's just items, services.
All of these items 23, 24, 26, and 27. They're all put on here by our child study team director in the case that the staffing that we have hired in-house, if we don't have enough time or somebody's out on a leave or we just need additional services, then we will contract these different companies to provide them. This has been here the last I think 5 years we're
been here a
working on
while.
with the child study team shared.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's go with all in favor again? Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? No, okay. So that takes us on to business items, 28 through 40, and I don't believe there's any changes. Nope, no changes, no add-ons to any of them. So can I have a motion on business items 28 through 40?
Motion.
Any questions on any of them? Nope. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? No? All right. So that brings us to continuing business.
So I have 2 things for continuing business. I'm just going to start out very quickly with talking about the sale of 3rd Street. I know that comes up. Now that we have our latest appraisal, we will now be working with the Department of Education. The Department of Education now has to approve our desire to sell the building. So we'll be working on that shortly, and hopefully by the time we meet in August, that'll be all approved, and then we can really get the process underway. So, but that's the next step, is to reach out and work with them. I don't know how long that takes, hopefully not too long. Sorry. Yeah, we're just talking about, I just mentioned 3rd Street sale. The next step is to reach out to the Department of Education. They have to approve us selling the building. So that's the next step, and hopefully we'll have that approval by the August meeting.
Good. Okay, great, thanks.
I'm also going to read a statement just on, I know most everybody here tonight is here about the situation with our aides, so I just put some remarks together, and then that way, at least from the board perspective, kind of say where we're at. So here we go. In an attempt to make sure that everyone who is here tonight and who has openly commented on our potential outsourcing of our instructional and personal aides, I'm going to read the following statements and try to clear up any rumors or misinformation that has been spread. I would like to begin with the facts that are relevant to this situation. First, it should be noted that the Board of Education will not be taking any actions tonight on potential outsourcing other than discussing whether we are going out for requests for proposals, you'll hear me say RFP a couple of times, and what should go into the RFP. On March the 8th, the Belvidere Education Association and the Public Employees Relations Commission were given notice that the Belvidere Board of Education was going to explore potential outsourcing of our aides. Also included in the notice were our custodians, but we have determined they would not be included moving forward. The Belvidere Education Association immediately filed an unfair labor practice claim with PERC. This data is relevant for a few reasons. First, the only time by law that the Board of Education is allowed to explore this option is when a negotiated bargaining agreement is coming to an end. Our agreement will end on 6/30/24, though negotiations are ongoing. Once the notice was served, the 90-day window for negotiations with the BEA on the impact of outsourcing of the aides began. When the 90 days expired, which was June the 8th, the Belvidere Board of Education could then go out for the request for proposals to see which companies would be interested in providing the service. Again, I will note that this process still has not been started and no final action will be taken tonight. Up to this point, the B.O.E. has not made the decision to move forward, but it did attempt multiple times to negotiate the impact with the BEA. In fact, all of our aides were given contracts for the 24-25 school year, pending a final decision on the outsourcing. I do not know how information was communicated, but I understand the public was advised that the Board of Ed intended to take formal action on this tonight. I am only making deductions on what was on social media. This information is inaccurate, as the BOA will only discuss that we should go out for the request for proposal. We will be asking that any proposal includes hiring all of our aides into the same positions, and if possible, making part-time aides that would like to be full-time. The RFP process will take approximately 20 days, and then we will review all, if any, proposals that we receive, and the rest will be, and we will review those with the Board of Education at our next meeting. To wrap up, we did receive a very well-written email from a community member who asked about our due diligence. Once we receive proposals, we will then take the time to do our due diligence and ask the questions that were mentioned in the email. Since we are still early in the process, we are unable to do that. There is no data that can be provided. I know that that came up on social media. We will do our best once we get all of that data so everybody can see it. We will also be putting the RFP up on our website as soon as it is complete. Thank you.
Okay, any other continuing business? No? Any new business?
Do we want to talk about changing the board from, no, okay.
Any other new business?
Okay.
Hi, there we go. While we have so many people here, can we also mention that we do have 2 spaces open for the board if anyone's interested? Where can they go to?
If you're interested in serving on the board, send your resume and letter of interest to Ms. Chalma at her email. So,
Thank you.
rchalma@belvideresd.org.
Thank you very much.
Any other new business?
No.
Kelly, did you have any correspondence for the resignation? Larry? Wondering. Just a thought I had, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got an email from Mr. Barr, but I don't
Okay.
recall it being,
Okay, I was just
Agreed.
wondering, because a lot of times you do read them, so I was just making sure that we weren't missing anybody.
okay.
Okay. All right, so no new business for anybody else? All right, so we are on to the next part, the second public participation. It's limited to 5 minutes per speaker and 30 minutes for the time frame. So public participation is now open.
Hi, my name is Allison Bresney. I have a child who is, and excuse my voice, I'm sorry, is going to be going into kindergarten, and then not this next school year, but the following, another that will be going into preschool. I was not planning on speaking tonight, but the parts of conversations that I heard prior to the meeting between 2 board members does not honestly really sit well with me about how you don't get paid to be here. You're correct, you don't get paid to be here. And you don't feel like being told you don't care, and that you're not doing this for the right reasons. As a parent, as a person who went to this school, that's not comforting. And I truthfully hope that you are all here for the right reasons. But honestly, hearing that I didn't feel that that was appropriate, and it doesn't sit well with me. And then in regards to the social media, I was one of the people who had commented on things and whatever. It was never stated that any final decisions were going to be made tonight. It was to show support. And as a board, I would hope that you would appreciate the support from the community. I know it's not at every single board meeting, but also graduating from Belvidere myself, I love the fact that my children also have the same teachers and the same aides that I had when I went to school. And that's all I have.
Hi, I'm Joan McCaffrey. I am a teacher's aide here at Belvidere Elementary. According to Webster's New World Dictionary, loyalty is the quality of being faithful and having adherence to a person, government, job, duty, or cause. I speak not only for myself, but also for my colleagues when I say we have been extremely loyal to this school and to the school district. It is well known that we are not making a fortune here, yet here we are, day after day. We show up with a smile and a good attitude. We laugh, we cry, we have each other's backs, and we do our job, and we do it very well. But the most important thing we do each day is show loyalty to our students. It isn't just a job to us, it's a calling. We have genuine relationships with our students. We care about them, we nurture them, and we are far beyond any generic aide-student relationship. We are family. Why would you want to break up the family? The board needs to be loyal to us as we have been loyal to Belvidere Elementary School. You need to take a long, hard look at your motives and determine that what you're proposing is wrong and harmful. It is most harmful to the students who depend on us each day for stability, support, love, and guidance. Saving money is not the answer. It's the problem here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It would do a lot of harm and be a huge disservice to the children we serve. They have come to depend on us for stability. Why would you want to rob them of that stability? We are family. Do not break up the family. I, for one, would not want that on my head. Thank you.
My name's John Owens. I'm speaking on behalf of Mrs. Greta Marie Scott.
John, I can't hear you, so I'm sure they can. I don't know if
Is this better?
Just a little closer.
It's on.
Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, Belvidere Board of Education and community members. My name is Greta Marie Scott. I would like to discuss the importance of keeping the current paraprofessional support staff in the district. She has been a special education teacher for 20 years in the Belvidere School District. She has worked with numerous paraprofessionals throughout her career here. The latter half of her career has been working with his district students who have a need for a very high level of support to maintain in this public school setting. Due to having her master's degree in B.O.E, many of the students have been able to receive behavioral support services within her classroom due to her extensive training and experience. Also due to this, she has been able to train and support the paraprofessionals who come into her classroom and work with these students. These paraprofessionals and their willingness to learn, work, and engage with her students is a pivotal part of the success of this program. She will run her classroom program with a very fluid routine, which includes and requires all paraprofessionals to work with every student in the classroom, supporting their social, emotional, and learning needs. The community of the same staff makes daily routine seamless and beneficial for the students. Continuity of these same paraprofessionals also enables her to facilitate a successful learning environment for all students, because once she works with and trains the paraprofessionals, they can more effectively begin to implement behavioral strategies regularly. There have been many IEP meetings that she has attended with outside professionals, including legal advocates, who have questioned the quality of support that is provided to these students. Because of the paraprofessional support in her classroom, the continuity of their presence, she can confidently explain that the students are receiving the same support that they would receive as if they were expected of an outside with a district special education setting. This is a direct result of having the constant support of the dedicated paraprofessionals working in her classroom program. There's been significant growth over the last 5 years of students who are attending Belvidere Elementary School who require behavioral, academic, life skill, and language support. Each of her students, per their IEP, require one-on-one support to succeed throughout their school day to carry out needed skills. They can depend on the well-trained, hardworking, familiar paraprofessionals with whom they can trust to help them learn. Her students in particular also use communication devices, AAC devices, as a way to communicate. Not only are the students learning how to use these, but staff who work with them need to know how to teach them. This includes knowledge of many different vocabulary words that students can use throughout his or her school day. The continuity of the same paraprofessionals working with their students has enabled their students to make further progress in their methods of communication, a right that every student should have. These are only a few examples of how the same well-trained, hardworking, knowledgeable paraprofessionals are so vital to the success of the students of this district, especially her students. Sourcing to an outside agency with no knowledge of who will be placed in the classroom and/or program, especially if these aides are not consistent, will be detrimental to the students and their progress. Inconsistent and irregular replacement of aides will only allow for disruption in learning and the process of students for whose success depends so heavily on the strategic planning and placement of parapros who will work with them daily. She's been fortunate enough to have extremely hardworking individuals placed into her classroom consistently. Mr. Carlton, Ms. Gross, Ms. Rush, and Mrs. Vitana have worked with and trained in her classroom program with the same students for many years. The students' progress can be directly attributed to the consistency with these specific paraprofessionals. Should they not be employed and continue to work with these students, there will definitely be a regression of skills, which will include their ability to communicate and socialize with students and their age-appropriate peers. I strongly recommend you consider the repercussions of outsourcing support staff and what it would have on these students and the district as a whole. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Mrs. Greta Marie Scott.
My name is Victoria French Davenport. The man that just spoke, my son happens to be one of those students. in her class. Melissa has been with my son since the first day of preschool and still continues to be with him. Miss Allie has been with him since his second year of preschool and is still in the same class with him. Miss Kathy, sorry, sweetie. Miss Kathy has been with him as a substitute and everything else, also in his special class with Miss Scott for, 2 years in Miss Scott's class, and then she was a substitute for the 2 previous years as well. My son, I don't know, you guys may not understand autism, but I can tell you right now, I am 33 years old, and I live my life by such a strict schedule. It's actually seriously sad. My life is always scheduled out, completely and perfectly for my child, for his happiness, for his well-being. I sent him here to you guys with the confidence I have in Miss Melissa, Miss Kathy, Miss Michelle, Miss Allie, Mr. Phil, I don't know where you are. But I send my kid to the school, to a specific classroom with these specific people, day in and day out. If you start messing with that, you will have a complete flop of a school year. And I'm already upset by the one fact that my daughter will be staying back in kindergarten. So when I say a flop of a school year, I will be seriously mad if I have a second kid that has problems in the school. Because my daughter could have used an aid. It was actually in her IEP. My son desperately needs a one-on-one aid. And if he does not get a one-on-one aid, well, I'm not sure what the new age thing for a back of a milk carton is, but that's where his picture might be. Please, when you guys are actually thinking about this, realize I send my kid here with confidence. I know the people in his classroom. And if I don't have that confidence, you guys can always be talking about out of school placement for him. And I don't really think you want to burn that bridge. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Beresny. I have been an aide in Belvidere for the past 8 years, with the last 5 being in preschool. My coworkers and I found out in March that our jobs were in jeopardy by being outsourced to whichever company wins the bid. There is no guarantee if we are hired by said company that we would even work in Belvidere. We were given contracts in May for the upcoming school year. We signed them. Why were they given to us if the intention to outsource was still on the board's and administration's mind? We thought we were headed in the right direction until the negotiations meeting last week, where negotiations were halted because of the plan to continue with outsourcing. Belvidere is a small district compared to surrounding districts. We are admin heavy. With that being the case, why does renewing and/or extending the superintendent's contract tonight, a single person, take precedence over the contracts of the PT and part-time and full-time aides who are hands-on every day with the youngest and most vulnerable of the students? There are a handful of full-time aides, myself being one of them. The health benefits that 4 out of 5 of us partake in does add to the expense, but why are we being penalized for something that is offered to us for being full-time employees? Since the preschool program is a state grant-funded program, what are the requirements in having a teacher's assistant in class? Is outsourcing allowed with the grant? Is the assistant required to be full-time to help with the consistency among the students? I invite anyone on the board and the administrators to come and spend some time in the youngest of the classrooms to see firsthand why assistants aides are so beneficial. Belvidere holds a special place in my heart. My family and I have lived here for over 22 years. I have 2 grown daughters who went through the school system. My grandson just finished preschool and will start kindergarten in August. This is our home, our community. I am proud to be able to work with such wonderful people, children, and families. Please reconsider the outsourcing and let us continue to do what we love, which is helping the children learn and grow with our guidance. Thank you.
Reva Smickle, Chaos Coordinator of the Community Lunch on Fridays at the Presbyterian Church. I want to invite all you board members, administration, everybody sitting here, please come any Friday and check us out. We have students from this school, and we have teachers here. I can't say enough good about the teachers at the elementary school here. They are fantastic. Our lunch program wouldn't be what it is without them. Thank you, all of you.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Sorbonne. I have a student in the sixth grade. Mr. Scott, I'm sorry, but were all of these people boring you? You were on your phone the entire time they were speaking. No, I think that you were being.
Stop, Mars, let it go, let it go, let it go, Mars, let it go.
I'm sorry.
Mars, let it go.
Here's the thing. Every year we do this. We talk about cutting the teachers, we talk about cutting the aides, and every year these people who educate our children have to fear for their jobs. They have to worry every year about whether or not they're going to get to come back, whether or not they should be finding jobs, and they're distracted from doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is teaching our students, guiding our future, making our children's futures bright, putting their efforts into what we're asking them to do, putting our children first. My job, I'm a business analyst. You want to talk about outsourcing my job all day long? You can do that. You're going to get a different colored spreadsheet. It'll be fine. I'll find something else. But Miss Sue, Miss Lori, they're making a difference. They're guiding our children. All of them are. And we can't have a different person in there every single day. If there's anything that we learned from COVID is that our kids need stability. And we have to make sure that we have stability here in Belvidere every single year.
Good evening. Your mission statement emphasizes your focus on 4 cornerstones of this district: tradition, excellence, academics, and community.
I know who you are, but
I believe I'm qualified to speak to you tonight as an example of a beneficiary of those cornerstones.
no, I agree.
No.
I think their policy is
Say
you
who
say
you are.
My
Who are
name
you?
is
Say who
Frederick
you are.
Skirpst,
Yes.
Thank you.
valedictorian, class of 1991, and proud educator for more than 2 decades at one of the sending districts to Belvidere High School. I've been successful in my careers because of these cornerstones: tradition, excellence, academics, and community. They were instilled in me as a student, and I brought them back when I coached here many years ago. The choices we're faced with throughout life are often very difficult. And when it comes to the unenviable position of being on a board of education, those choices are made even more difficult because of the significant impact they have on people's lives. But I believe if those cornerstones are used as a guide, the right choices can be made. Now, there's been some chatter in town about possible choices that are being considered, choices that could potentially impact some folks working with the kids in this town. If those choices must be made, then it's important to emphasize how those cornerstones manifest themselves in the folks that could be impacted. Many have lived in this town for more than 2 decades. They have or had children and grandchildren attend this school. They bring nearly 100 years of experience and are trained in things like CPR, crisis intervention, and behavior management. They collectively bring more than 600 college credits, advanced degrees, and certificates, including those in early childhood and autism. They exemplify and demonstrate those cornerstones of tradition, excellence, and academics every single day when they support our kids. But more importantly, they're dedicated members of this community. You see them in church. They're volunteers with the fire department. They're members of the Booster Club, and they belong to the American Legion. So as a graduate who benefited from those cornerstones, I implore you to keep them front and center and to use them as a guide when making the decisions. People like that can be nearly impossible to find elsewhere. Fortunately, we don't need to look elsewhere. They're all right here.
Any other public participation?
Hello, I'm Sandy Gonda, parent of a high schooler. On different topic, I first want to thank all the teachers, administration. My son had ninth grade, great year, great grades, did really well academically, socially. So I want to thank, all the folks, and Ms. Black, I know is here. I want to thank her, and, Mr. Bartow, Dr. McKinney. I do have some concerns, though, going into 10th grade. His IEP is not complete. It's the document's not finished. And with Ms. Kerpat no longer on staff, I don't know who's going to pick that up, and I don't want to go into the fall in September with that document that we don't agree with, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get a response. The second thing is the electives. He's not a college-bound child. He's a trades child, and there's no trades to choose from. There's not, on the curriculum, they have a bunch of wood shop and engineering, electronics, and they're not offered here. I know there's an issue with trying to get a teacher for wood shop, but I just feel like there's nothing other than like art and cooking, and that's not going to get him anywhere in life. He needs something STEM or robotics, and it doesn't take that much to get a STEM teacher or robotics, I wouldn't think. And I feel like more and more parents are going to pull their kids to other schools if we can't accommodate the ones that are, that can't get into B.O.E. Tech, that aren't like couldn't get in because of learning disabilities. And then just the third and final thing is get the cell phones out of the classroom. And I know it's impossible, and I know a lot of parents disagree with that, but if there could be more classroom management around that, that would be awesome. My son never took his cell phone until it was requested to bring so to one of the classes, and then it was just opening up a can of worms. It's so much more difficult now to get him to put it down because all the other kids have them. So just, if you could just look at that a little bit. So I appreciate it. Thank you for a good year.
Thanks. Any other public participants? Nope. Okay. So that's going to end our public participation. We are adding another executive.
Hold on, one second. Can I just say one thing? The common theme tonight was our aides will not be our aides, but I would just like to reiterate for clarification purposes, Mr. Karuba stated our RFP will include the new company hiring our aides that we already have, possibly offering them full-time positions, and then sending them back to us. We will not lose our aides. That is what our RFP will state. Will we find a company that agrees with that? We don't know, but that's what our RFP will state.
Okay, so we are going to add an executive session for CSA contract and evaluation that we didn't get to earlier. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session in approximately 45 minutes. And action may be taken at the conclusion of this executive session. Okay, go to executive. Okay, back in public session. We have a resolution for tonight's meeting, whereas the Board of Education and Christopher Karuba, the Superintendent of Schools, are currently parties to an employment contract for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. And whereas the contract provides for 1 year's notice of non-renewal, and whereas the board and superintendent may negotiate an amended contract. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Belvidere Board of Education as follows. The board has determined not to renew Mr. Karuba's current contract and directs that he be provided with a written notice of the same. If the board and Mr. Karuba reach agreement on an amended contract, it will be submitted to the Executive County of Superintendents for approval, and the public hearing will be held at the future meeting prior to formal board approval of any amended contract. Can I have a motion on this?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Dr. Zeppeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Stefan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mrs. Robotham?
All right. Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. Have a good night, everybody.